8 saker du inte visste om Alexander Isak, den svenska superstjärnan. Är han Sveriges bästa fotbollsspelare? Skriv i kommentarerna.
You've probably seen him dribble past defenders like they're not even there. You've definitely seen him fire rockets into the back of the net. And chances are you've heard his name linked to some of the world's
Han är väl
biggest
kvar i
clubs.
Newcastle,
How
va?
much do you really know about Alexander Isak, one of football's smoothest strikers? Well,
Är det någonting vi inte vet om honom nu?
find
Det
out.
hade varit kul att veta.
Here are 8 things
All right,
you
all right,
didn't
all right,
know
all right.
about Alexander Isak.
Kungen. The
Alexander
Roots.
Isak was born in 1999 in Solna, a quiet suburb just outside Stockholm, Sweden. But his story begins far from the icy streets of Scandinavia. Thousands of miles away, under the dry sun of East Africa, his parents faced a decision that would change the course of their lives. Eritrea, their homeland, had become a place of unrest, marked by war and political upheaval. In the late 1990s, they made the painful choice to leave.
Exakt,
They
men
crossed
föddes inte Isak i
in search
Sverige?
of peace, trading the familiar for the unknown. Sweden, cold, distant and unfamiliar, became their refuge. Even though he was born and raised in Sweden, Alexander never lost touch with his Eritrean roots. In 2018, he visited the country for the first time and called it the best trip of his life. He didn't just visit family though. During his visit, he connected with grassroots football projects in Asmara and attended football matches.
Det här gillar man ju.
He also offered support to youth programs.
Någon som är riktigt duktig med sånt här är väl Sadio Mané, är väl extremt duktig med att liksom hjälpa till tillbaks i Senegal och investera mycket av sina pengar i staden, en uppvuxen och sånt. Ja, det är häftigt.
But football wasn't just something he picked up on the playground. It runs in the family. His dad played professionally back in Eritrea, and his older brother was a big influence too, pushing him, training with him, and giving him that competitive edge from early on.
Okay, the
Isak
record breaker.
AIK Football's youth academy when he was 6 years old after impressing a coach at a local football school in Solna. Being a tall and skinny kid, he immediately stood out. Interestingly though, Isak didn't start out as a striker. In his early years at AIK, he played as a central midfielder, a role that may have shaped the style we see today. A striker who can drop deep, link up play and dribble past defenders like a number 10. At 16, Isak made his senior debut for AIK. 3 months later, he became the club's youngest ever goalscorer, finding the net against Oskarshamn.
Håller han det fortfarande? Ni AIK-are nu. Är Isak fortsatt yngsta målgöraren? Eller är det han nu Filling? Hette inte han så? Var han yngre?
15 years and 199 days old.
Jag vet faktiskt.
That performance didn't go unnoticed. Soon, headlines were calling him Sweden's new Zlatan Ibrahimovic, a comparison he'd later try to distance himself from. But this was only the beginning. In January 2017, he made his debut for the Swedish national team. Just 4 days later, he scored his first international goal in a 6-0 win over Slovakia. At 17 years and 113 days old, he became the youngest goal scorer in Swedish national team history, breaking a record that stood since 1912.
Wow, det var sjukt. Wow.
When you first look at Isak, tall frame, 6'4", long stride, you might expect a classic target man. But watch him for 5 minutes and you'll see he's anything but. He's quick off the mark, sharp with the ball at his feet, and his dribbling, especially in tight spaces, is seriously underrated.
Alltså den där assisten är brutal.
Drop deep, link up play, and then still be the one finishing off the move. It's part of what makes him such a nightmare for defenders. They don't know whether to follow him into midfield or stay put and risk getting burned in behind. Now, because he's Swedish and he plays up front, the Zlatan comparisons were inevitable.
Ja, såklart. Alltså jag minns när Isak gick till Newcastle och den där matchen mot Liverpool. Alltså han var så bra. Det var på Anfield också. Alltså han var så bra.
If you followed Isak's career or listened to his interviews, you'll know that he doesn't like that label. Personality-wise, they couldn't be more different. While Zlatan is known for his larger-than-life persona, Isak is more reserved and prefers to let people do the talking. In terms of actual playing style, the player he really looks up to is Thierry Henry, and that influence shows on the pitch. The way he drifts out to the left, glides past defenders.
Henry var väl lite mer utav en kanonkula, lite mer speed.
In that. Even Newcastle's coaches
lite ganska mycket mer. Henry var ju så otroligt snabb.
He isn't just a tall striker who can score goals, he's a modern forward. Fluid, intelligent, and versatile. And that is exactly what makes him so special.
Okay, the struggle.
In 2017, Alexander Isak was emerging as one of Europe's most promising young strikers. Just a few months after becoming the youngest goal scorer in Sweden's national team history, he found himself at the center of a transfer tug of war. Real Madrid were serious contenders. Reports at the time suggested they'd offered around 8 million euros to bring him to the Bernabeu, the kind of move most 17-year-olds wouldn't think twice about. But Isak did. Instead, he chose Borussia Dortmund.
Svinbra ju.
The thinking was clear. Dortmund had built a reputation as a club that trusted youth, developed talent and provided a clear path to first-team football. On paper, it looked like the perfect move.
Ja, eller hur? Det var inte det då.
Football isn't played on paper. Isak arrived into his side already stacked with attacking talent.
Han blev utlånad. Det var inte så konstigt, eller?
Christian Pulisic and Pierre-Emerick
här var ju alla de här bra också.
Established under Thomas Tuchel and later Peter Bosz and Lucien Favre, the door to the first team never really opened for Isak. Most of his minutes came in Dortmund's reserves in Germany's third tier.
Men jag menar det. Hade han gått till Real Madrid hade det varit nästan ännu värre i offensiven. Det låg väl öppet för en utflyttning när han var den här åldern.
In total, he played just 13 senior games and scored once. The issue wasn't talent, it was timing, confidence and a tactical system that never quite fit him.
Ja.
Off the pitch, he was quiet, still adjusting to a new country, culture and language. And on the pitch, he was often overlooked in favor of more established options. But there was a moment, small but significant, that stayed with him. His coach, Jan Sievert, pulled him aside during a particularly difficult spell. He showed Isak 2 photos, one of him smiling after scoring for Sweden, and another of him, head down, sitting alone on Dortmund's bench. It was a quiet reminder of who he could be and who he was in danger of becoming. That moment stuck with him. It helped him refocus and start to rebuild. By early 2019, the club decided to send him on.
Jag tror att det här utlåningen var liksom det som behövdes. Han behövde kanske få in några baljer, spela i en ny miljö, få upp självförtroendet och sen framförallt få ett förtroende av tränaren i Dortmund, tror jag.
In the Netherlands. It was a move that was marked the beginning of a turning point. But those 2 years at Dortmund, frustrating as they were, gave Isak something every young player inevitably needs: a reality check. Proof that talent alone doesn't guarantee opportunity, and that sometimes development means going backwards forward.
Sen var det väl Sociedad som Redemption!
His move to Borussia Dortmund hadn't gone to plan and his confidence had taken a hit. So when the opportunity came for a loan to Dutch side Willem II, Isak grabbed it with both hands. In Tilburg, he found freedom. In just 16 Eredivisie games, he scored 13 goals and provided 6 assists.
19 poäng på 16 matcher i Liga.
Eredivisie history to score in 12 consecutive matches, instantly breaking an Eredivisie record. And on top of that, he also managed to score a hat-trick of penalties in a single game, something no player in the league had ever done before.
Straffar i en match.
His time at Willem II wasn't just about goals. Off the pitch, there were challenges too.
Ja.
At one point, he had a disagreement with a teammate during training. It could have escalated, but instead, Isak handled it calmly. Coaches later pointed to that moment as a sign of his maturity and growing leadership. In the Netherlands, his confidence returned, and his touch, movement and instinct in front of goal sharpened. It's no surprise that Isak looks back at that spell fondly, calling it the most important period of my career. After his spell at Willem II, Alexander Isak took the next step in his career. A permanent move to La Liga.
Det var bra. Men då kanske, jag hade för mig att det gick bättre i Dortmund än vad det faktiskt gjorde. Jag tar tillbaks det. Jag hade för mig att det gick bättre. Att han kom tillbaks och levererade och sen köpte Sociedad honom. Men Sociedad köper honom efter prestationerna i Wilhelm och Dortmund släpper honom. Det här han verkligen blomstrar.
A strong footballing identity, a focus on youth and a style of play that suited Isak's qualities. In his first season, he scored 9 goals in the league and added another 7 in the Copa del Rey. But it was in the Cup where he delivered one of the defining moments of his early career. In a quarter-final clash at Santiago Bernabeu, he scored twice, had a third ruled out and assisted another in a stunning 4-3 win over Real Madrid, knocking out the tournament favourites in their own backyard. The following season, his progression continued, where he linked up well with Arsenal's current captain Martin Odegaard. Isak finished the 2021 La Liga campaign with 17 goals and in the process became the youngest player in history to score in 5 consecutive games. Just 21 years and 146 days old.
I Liga.
A record that was previously held by Sergio Aguero for Atletico Madrid and Samuel Eto'o for Barcelona. Isak proved to be determined to make the most of his time in Spain. and took learning the language seriously. In fact, even before arriving in San Sebastian, he reached out to his former Spanish teacher back in Sweden, who provided him with the perfect foundation to learn the language.
Jaha.
By the time he left from Newcastle in 2022, Isak had scored 44 goals in 132 appearances for Real Sociedad, emerging as one of the most exciting young strikers in
Nu har de
Europe.
Sorlot som smattrar in.
When
The
Newcastle
Magpie
United
Masterclass.
broke the transfer record to sign Alexander Isak in August 2000,
De måste ju vara nöjda med honom, eller?
70 million euros to bring him in from
Det här var
Real
stort
Sociedad,
alltså.
It was a clear statement of intent. At the time, it raised eyebrows. Isak had shown flashes of brilliance in Spain, but there were still doubts about his consistency.
Men alltså, kolla!
70 million euros was a serious investment.
Ja, det var det verkligen.
Still, it didn't take long
Kolla
for him
match
to
mot Liverpool,
justify
alltså.
the fee. On his debut at Anfield, he scored with his very first shot. A composed
Och så hade han ett
finish against
offside-mål också.
Liverpool
Eller
that offered a
han var
glimpse
så bra.
of what was to come.
Han var så bra.
Despite injuries limiting his appearances in that first season, he still managed 10 Premier League goals in just 22 matches.
Det är
But it
bra.
was in the next season that Isak truly announced himself to the Premier League. He scored 21 goals, becoming the first Newcastle player since Alan Shearer to break the 20-goal barrier in a league season.
Wow.
A somewhat surprising stat, considering the firepower Newcastle have had over the years with players like Pape Cissé and Demba Ba. But it was Isak who finally matched Shearer's benchmark. He also made history in Europe. During Newcastle's return to the Champions League, Isak became the first player born in the 2000s to score in the competition. And the streaks didn't stop there. In the 2024-25 season, he scored in 8 consecutive Premier League games, breaking a club record previously held by Shearer again, and placing himself among the likes of Ruud van Nistelrooy, Jamie Vardy and Daniel Sturridge, the elite few in league history to do so. Now, in early 2025, Isak has already scored 62 goals in 107 appearances across all competitions for Newcastle. His performances have sparked interest from some of the biggest clubs in Europe. But apparently, Newcastle aren't looking to cash in. Backed by their Saudi ownership, the club
Champions League, fotboll, han trivs, det går bra.
They see Isak as central to their long-term ambitions, and the market reflects that value. With an estimated market value of 100 million euros, Isak is now considered one of the most valuable forwards in world football, and he's still just 25 years old. On the pitch,
the man behind goals
is one of the calmest, most composed forwards in
Olle var ju iväg och intervjuade honom och han sa ju att Isak var ju en riktig kung alltså.
Football. But off it, there's a quieter personality, measured, modest, yet with flashes of humor and unexpected charisma that reveal a very different side. Recently, during Newcastle's Carabao Cup parade, Isak had fans in stitches after mimicking a thick Geordie accent, shouting, "Are you walking?" A friendly
fattar ingenting vad det där var. Vad var det han sa?
How's it going?
Det var ju han sa ju det i deras dialekt såklart och jag försökte förstå vad det var men
over 300,000 supporters.
Då är dialekten bra när jag inte förstod vad han sa.
The Geordie accent he's nailed. Despite being born and raised in Sweden, Isak speaks English with a distinctly natural, almost London accent. Clips of him doing media duties or goofing around with teammates have gone viral. Fans are regularly caught off guard, expecting a Swedish intonation and instead getting what feels like a South London energy. Did you enjoy this video?
Ja, verkligen. Det var bra, men det var inte så mycket vi inte visste om. Det är väl det här med att han var yngsta i landslaget hade jag ingen aning om. Jag visste att det var i AIK till exempel och häftigt det där med Wilhelm-rekorden och sånt. Vad var det? 12 matcher i rad som var mål. Det är coolt. Ni kan väl kommentera ner förfrågan jag har ställt om är han fortfarande yngsta liksom i både landslaget och AIK. Det vore kul att veta. Tack för att du kollade på videon. Vi syns imorgon igen med en till ny otrolig video.